Good Monday morning, and thanks for listening to my musing today. This past Thursday was Earth Day, and that's what I've been musing about this past week. Fortunately, there are a lot of resources about creation care or eco-stewardship, especially within the Presbyterian Church. I think among the denominations we do a fairly good job of recognizing the importance of how we care for creation. In Genesis 3, in the story of Adam and Eve, why is Adam created? Well, because there's no one to work the garden that God has created. Care for the earth, stewardship, is an important line we get at the very beginning of Scripture. And by the very end, in the Revelation, the image we have for a world at peace is that there is a flowing river that goes through Jerusalem, right through the city center, a river that gives life and abundance. So from beginning to end, our care for creation is an important task that we have. Throughout Scripture, we have incredibly important images about what the world at peace would look like. The world at peace doesn't come without creation at peace, where the wolf and the lamb lie down together in peace, and the child plays over the adder's den. Learning how to be at peace with creation is a part of what it means to find shalom, the ultimate ending, the ultimate end for which humans are supposed to be working. So how we learn to appreciate the beauty of the earth, how we understand the ways that we have some control, what in earlier days we might have called dominion for the earth, those are the things we need to think about, not just on Earth Day, but all the time. Because it is the case that we've been given massive power over creation. Maybe you've even heard about terraforming other planets. Elon Musk had mentioned using nuclear warheads on Mars to create an atmosphere. But maybe before we start nuking other planets, learning how we care for our own is something that we need to be vigilant about, and something that we can appreciate doing. That the rewards, the literal fruits of our labor, are something rewarding for us. There's an especially particular theologian that I like named Gordon Kaufman, who talks a good bit more about that. So if you'd like to think a little more right after Earth Day about how a theology accompanies how we are supposed to care for the earth, then I hope you'll stick around and listen a little bit more. So, a theologian who once upon a time worked at Harvard Divinity School is named Gordon Kaufman. He was a woodworker, and compellingly to me, he said, why don't we think instead of God as creator, we think of God as creativity itself? That God has created us to be co-creators, that to be formed in the image of God, what separates us apart from other species that we're aware of is our own creativity. That while other animals might create tools or things like that, they haven't come up with lasers yet. So our ability to create and form the world in the ways that work for us and work for the rest of creation is incredibly powerful, exponentially more powerful than other animals and plants and things that we're aware of. That we can divert rivers, we can change greenhouse gases, we can grow tomatoes in the middle of the winter. And that these capacities that we have, these creative abilities that we have, are worth note because they indicate the ways that the image of God, who is creativity's self, work and flow through us. So what does all that junk means? It means that we are co-creators of the world with God. So rather than thinking that God is a divine watchmaker who winds up the world and sets it free, it's the case that we are something like self-winding and recreating watches. That we do have the power to change the world, not just as God would have it, but in some ways, the way that we would want it. So if we choose to cut off whole mountaintops for the sake of coal or iron, we can do that. If we want to frack and drill deep into the earth, we can do that, and we have. In some ways, this creates energy for us. It creates, it is a clear sign of the power that we have. But we're also aware of the ways that this dramatically changes our landscape, our environment. And so what Kaufman's theology indicates to us is that we need to be aware, in the words of the theologian Spider-Man, that with great power comes great responsibility. We don't need to defer all of the creative processes in the universe to God, who is above and beyond the universe. We need to recognize the sorts of power that God has given to us for the care of the world. In Genesis 3, often that power is translated as dominion, that God creates the world, God creates the animals, and gives humankind dominion over them. And with that word, etymologically, we get the idea of domination, that God gives the world to us to dominate. But a better word, a fairer word to the Hebrew, is that we are stewards of creation, or conservators of creation, that we've been given a sort of legal, theological, divinely appointed guardianship of the creation. Not that God is completely absent, but that we have been entrusted with the care of our planet, and now, as we think towards the stars in space, of the universe. What we're able to do, even as our rovers go about Mars and as we send satellites to other planets, we realize that we literally have touched the stars, that our influence reaches incredibly far in ways that the writers of Genesis maybe couldn't even have imagined. So this Earth Day, where we think about terra firma, we can also think about universal care. What does our footprint on the world look like? What is the kind of world that we want to create? Whenever we have capacities to control things like predation, when we release wolves into Yosemite, whenever we have the power to create monocultures where we plant only corn for acres and acres and acres, we need to be aware of both the power and the responsibility that we have to do that. Maybe you've been a part of the From Nature to Creation class where some of these things are explored even more in depth, but just one small nugget that I'll give from that book for you after Earth Day is that even in the ways that we name the world, we have creative power. You might remember from the Genesis story that God does not name all the animals, but God gives the responsibility to Adam to name the animals. Even in our naming, we shape and structure in the world of ideas how we treat the world around us. A flower, for example, is something to enjoy for its beauty. We put them in greenhouses. We pay a lot of money for them. We stop and smell the roses, maybe. But a weed, well, weeds are to be eradicated, chemically destroyed so that our yards are nice green carpets, all soft, all uniform. Now, why do we do that? Well, in part, as Norman Wurzba argues, it's because that we've been given the power to name these things. A weed is something negative and something that we eradicate. A flower is something we celebrate and that we grow. A rodent or a varmint is something to be killed and blocked out. A pet is something we bring into our home and we care for. Even in our names, in our ways of thinking about creation, we have power over it. So as we think about the fruits of our labor, we have to decide, is dandelion tea something that we need more of, or are dandelions something to be eradicated? What we choose to do is up to us, alongside God and alongside creation. That there are forces in the universe that allow for weeds and other things to push even through concrete. And by our chemical uses, we can choose to either fertilize them or to kill them or to garden in more organic or natural ways. All of that power has been at least somewhat given to us. So how you choose to appreciate nature, to find a balance for it, and to listen to the ways that it speaks out to us. I need water because I'm wilting. I need nutrients, that I'm nitrogen deprived, and plants have their ways of showing that. We're able to both care and destroy. The power is ours, and recognizing that on Earth Day or during April, it's a wonderful thing that we're able to do. So not only in your care for creation, but in your appreciation for the world around you, I hope you stop and smell the roses this week, that you're able to think about some of these things. And even if you need to register late for the From Nature to Creation class, I hope that you'll consider it. These are some of the things I've been musing about today, and because it's beautiful, I think a walk might be in store. So thanks for listening. I'll see you next Monday.